Hey everyone, it's Liz Andrade from Pagebreak Podcast and Command Shift Design. I put together a video from this weekend where I went to Elliott Bay bookstore here in Seattle to see Gary Vaynerchuk talk about Thank You Economy, which is our book that we've been reading for March. And he did some Q&A, and I recorded a bunch of that and just edited together a few questions that I thought might be relevant to some of the Pagebreak listeners. So hope you enjoy. Thanks.
I think it's never been a better time to be a journalist than it is today. Ever. I'll tell you why. If you're good, you're going to keep a bigger percentage of the pie. See, what I know is that if you were the best journalist at Time Magazine 15 years ago, 25 years ago, or 40 years ago, you carried a lot of half-assed journalists and a lot of salesmen that golfed 14 days a week, right? And so they rode you, right? You know, you look at Bill Simmons from ESPN. There's a lot of people that are making paychecks because of him, right? If he goes on his own, he can keep all that. I don't write for the Wine Spectator. Daily Grape is my first attempt at monetizing my wine knowledge, right? Because I'm at a place where it really doesn't make sense financially for me to do wine stuff anymore. I mean, VaynerMedia is an exploding business. We're billing at $25,000 and $40,000 a month referral business. And if I had a lot of time, I'd be closing more deals. But I still have a passion for the wine world, and I still want to do it. So I've created a micro newsletter that's $4 a month, right? I'm not writing for the Wine Spectator. I'm keeping all of it. And so I believe a journalist, there's going to be more and more platforms. For example, I have to think long and hard if I want to write my next book with HarperCollins. Why wouldn't I go direct to consumer? Now the reason I don't is because I don't believe in going direct to Kindle or iPad because I'm a retailer and I want my book in the store. And there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be able to sell to Elliott Bay and Pals in Portland and, you know, Tattered Cover and, you know, Changing Hands and all these amazing indies that I really, really want to support. But it's not that hard. I'm a businessman. I know how to kind of do it. You know, the dynamics and the politics are going to be interesting to watch. But the fact of the matter is, we can go direct to consumer today in a way that we've never seen before because of these platforms. And I think if you're a phenomenal journalist, at worst, if you're unbelievable, at worst, you team up with a guy like me and you're 50-50 and you make $1 trillion. At worst, you get 50% of the action. My hope is that I'd love to see somebody corral 12 to 15 amazing journalists, call it like JediNews.com, and dominate. You could absolutely dominate. If I went out and got Seth Godin and I got, you know, Bill Simmons from ESPN, and I got a political person that rocks the house. I don't consume a lot, but you go around and take 13, 14 of the best bloggers, writers in the game right now, and you go direct to an iPad-like device where you charge $4.99 a month, you can make a substantial living. I've never, in my opinion, seen a better generation to be a journalist if you're good. It's never been a worse time to be a journalist if you suck. And I love that. That feels fair to me because that's what's been going on. Clown journalists have been riding the coattails of the best 2 or 3 writers in an organization. Nephews and best friends got hired by the editor and they just coasted and got paid on the back of the people with the real talent. And that's being taken away. It is good. It is, yeah. The cost of entry of starting your own business is so low today, and the upside is so high. And I think America's capitalist DNA is going to create a whole lot of entrepreneurs, and I think businesses are going to definitely have challenges. I mean, it's unbelievable with the Amazon services, right? And with, you know, Ruby on Rails and the coding. I mean, you can pump out stuff that, how many of you know what Beluga is? Raise your hand. You know, Beluga was out for 6 weeks and got bought for $10 million by Facebook. It was a group chat thing. If you know GroupMe or Fast Society or some of these sites, it was one of those. I mean, it took them 10 minutes, right? I mean, it's a very different world. It's not like building an actual building and then opening up your store. I mean, the speed of which this all is coming to is very, very interesting. And so, you know, I think it's going to change the dynamic. I think businesses are going to have to. I spent a whole chapter in this book about internal culture. I think businesses are going to have to be a whole lot better to keep employees, to get employees, and that's awesome because the best people are going to want to do it for themselves, and great. It's just a one bigger version of journalism, isn't it? It's all the same game. The internet is the ultimate platform. It is the ultimate platform, and that's why net neutrality and all those things were such big issues. and are such big issues, because this gives everybody, and I wrote about this in Crush It. Everybody thought in Crush It, I said that everybody can make $1 million. That's people who didn't read the book. All I said was that everybody has an at-bat. I don't think everybody can go to Yankee Stadium and hit a home run. But the fact that we now all have an at-bat is pretty darn cool. And that's different than the way it used to be. I got an at-bat, and I stand here today because of the internet. But if I lived in a generation earlier, I would have never done a video blog, because you couldn't, and I wasn't moving to LA to be discovered. I was gonna stay with my family, and that would have been it. I feel terrible for every entrepreneur that grew up outside of this generation. This is the greatest time ever to be an entrepreneur and a human being. The opportunities are just substantial. And there comes bad with good. I see the good, that's how I roll. There's bad. We're very much at the reliance of technology, you know? I mean, eventually we won't be around, and there'll be generations filled of people who don't even know the world without the internet. I feel like right now we can handle it. We wouldn't be happy, but we would figure it out because we rolled that way before. But I'll tell you right now, in 100 years, they're not gonna understand what that means, because they didn't grow up in that culture. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like, you know how you've heard about through the years, like, oh, he grew up in New York City, he's street smart. He's from the streets, right? Well, that's how we're growing up. It's your culture, it's your environment, you know? The reason that 17-year-old man right there has a much better bullshit radar than all of you, because he's been pounded with so much content that you weren't. You know, you were watching Leave It to Beaver in the Happy Days. It was a different world. You know, if you missed Tuesday night at 8:30, you missed Three's Company. You had a hope to watch a rerun during the summer. This man DVRs it. He's got no problems. You know, it's a different world. The world's changing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the same game. I think a community doesn't have to be a customer. A community is a community, right? And so that's why I hate LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn sucks, because it's built on the infrastructure of, you know, bad. It's like you're on LinkedIn to hit up somebody to get to somebody. The core deliverable of what LinkedIn brings to the table is not useful. And as you grow up the ladder, you're just getting bombarded to get connected to. I mean, it's just not a good place. And it's why I've never been bullish on LinkedIn. It's why when I saw LinkedIn's IPO and I saw how much revenue they're doing, it made sense to me. It's not good. And so I think when you build that community, you gotta really make sure that it's for good. Because if you build an affiliate marketing community, everybody's gonna try to affiliate to you know what I mean? You've gotta try to create that context that's bringing value. What problem are you solving? What service are you providing? And I think when you get really hardcore business people in one place, if everybody's selling, it's a whole lot of noise. You need to have consumption. So I think that it's really important to understand that that's why I love Twitter and Facebook and other places so much, because it's bigger than that, and you can go in there and do your thing. Otherwise, a world of just all salespeople sucks.